I don't think there's any need to belabor the obvious observation that the world has undergone a rather rapid geopolitical shift, and that by some measures, the climate conversation looks to have all but disappeared. But I want to state from the outset, the cement and concrete industry's commitment to decarbonization has not wavered. Not because we're indifferent to political headwinds, but because we've never understood decarbonization solely as a climate obligation. Decarbonization is fundamentally productivity and modernization by another name, and that means it's a business imperative. But in Canada, like many places, the struggle to align acute economic political pressures with a strategic approach to the energy transition is very real. There's genuine political energy around building infrastructure, housing, and industrial capacity, and cement and concrete are not peripheral to that agenda. Cement and concrete are as strategic to the global economy as energy. There is no housing, no infrastructure, no defense project, no energy installation that does not depend on a secure supply of cement. Maintaining a competitive, modern, and increasingly clean supply is not simply good industrial policy, it's a matter of economic security and sovereignty. If we get the policy conditions right, we can ensure that investment drives demand for lower carbon concrete and accelerates the modernization of the plants that produce it, aligning our economic and infrastructure agenda with our climate objectives. At home, I advocate passionately that a strong domestic supply of cement is a matter of national sovereignty. But the truth is that decarbonizing cement and concrete is too complex, too capital intensive, and too technically demanding for any one country to solve on its own. The technologies we need are being developed across multiple continents. The standards frameworks that validate the performance of low-carbon products are built through diligent multilateral work, and the knowledge base on novel cements, on carbon capture, on performance-based specifications is a global commons. The GCCA has played a central role in building that common foundation, aligning our global industry around a shared decarbonization pathway. Initiatives like the Cement Breakthrough, the Cement and Concrete Breakthrough demonstrate that governments understand they have a leadership role to play too, not just in setting domestic policy, but in creating the international conditions for this transition to happen at scale. At home and abroad, Canada has tried to do its part, and so let me share briefly what I think we've gotten right and where we still have work to do. First, in 2022, the Canadian cement and concrete industry and the Government of Canada did something I believe is genuinely innovative. We co-developed a roadmap to net zero carbon concrete by 2050. Not a government plan handed to industry, nor an industry wish list handed to government, but a real working partnership that brought together producers, technology companies, environmental organizations, and multiple federal departments to map a credible path to net zero across the full cement and concrete value chain. The roadmap reflects something I believe very deeply, that the right policy levers, green procurement, performance-based codes and standards, industrial carbon pricing, are not just climate tools, they're competitiveness tools. They drive investment, they drive modernization, and they create the demand signals that justify capital allocation decisions at the plant level. Just 3 days ago, I was in Saint-Constant, Quebec, for a groundbreaking ceremony. AmRise, which for those of you who don't know is the new name for Lafarge Holcim interests in North America, is investing more than $610 million to modernize their facility. It's the largest single cement plant modernization in Canada in decades, and it will be the first cement plant in Canada designed from the ground up to be net zero ready. It was made possible by climate funding from both the federal government and the Government of Quebec, and by a carbon market in Quebec that has provided the kind of long-term price signal that moves investment decisions. It's an example of policy working as intended. But there are gaps in our current approach that threaten our trajectory. First, policy certainty. In Canada, we operate under 6 separate carbon pricing systems, each with different rules that have changed multiple times over the past decade, creating unstable and unpredictable markets. The durability of these systems is a constant political football, and it hurts the investment case. We've also recently seen a collapse of climate-focused investment programs and a migration towards tax-based investment supports that don't always align with cement and concrete sector needs. The second major gap is market adoption. Industry is invested in lower carbon cements and alternative fuels and CCUS. We'll hear all about the technologies today. as well as environmental product declarations and the full apparatus of market transparency. The supply side initiative is there, but demand side adoption has lagged. Performance concerns, real or perceived, as well as a lack of regulatory incentives weigh on the willingness of the construction sector to adopt new cements and new concrete mix designs. Green procurement commitments are among the most powerful demand signals we have, and while the Government of Canada has made commendable progress with its standard on embodied carbon in construction, these policies need durability, consistent enforcement, and scale to move the market. We also need stronger codes and standards, clear performance-based specifications, accelerated testing and standardization pathways, and procurement frameworks that create low-risk environments to demonstrate and validate new products. We need architecture, engineering, and construction community to see low-carbon concrete not as a compromise, but as a high-value solution to multifaceted performance needs in the built environment. The panels you'll hear from today speak directly to these challenges, from the demand signals and policy levers that drive market adoption to the financing and innovation gap between the pilot stage and commercial deployment. These are the critical questions our sector is wrestling with, and I look forward to participating in the discussions today. Thank you.